My name is Tenzin, a Buddhist monk devoted to meditation and the search for enlightenment. For decades, I sought peace through discipline, silence, and detachment from the world's illusions. I believe that through deep meditation, I could transcend suffering and find liberation. One morning, as dawn broke softly over the mountains, I settled into my usual meditation posture, focusing on my breath, clearing my mind. But this time, something was different. A profound stillness overwhelmed me. My body relaxed beyond any previous experience. The world around me faded. Then, without warning, my consciousness slipped away from my body. I was no longer bound by earthly senses. I hovered above myself, calm yet curious, aware of the stillness but also of a growing light nearby. In this quiet realm, I felt neither fear nor confusion, only a strange serenity. It was as if I had crossed a threshold into a realm beyond words. And then I saw him, a man, crucified on a cross, bloodied, yet radiant, eyes filled with compassion and sorrow. He was unlike anyone I had ever imagined or heard of. Not a god of thunder or cosmic illusion, but a figure both vulnerable and majestic, emanating a love I had never known. I was stunned. How could this man on the cross hold such power, such grace? The image challenged everything I thought I knew about suffering and salvation. This encounter marked the beginning of a journey that would forever change my understanding of life, death, and the true meaning of compassion. As I hovered there, unable to move yet drawn irresistibly toward the figure on the cross, I felt a profound mix of emotions: pity, confusion, awe, and an unexpected warmth. The man's eyes, despite the agony etched on his face, were calm, filled with a love so intense it pierced my very soul. I had spent years in meditation, contemplating suffering and detachment, convinced that release came through emptiness and self-effacement. Yet, here was a man enduring the worst imaginable pain, and yet radiating an unshakable peace and love. I struggled to comprehend how such suffering could coexist with such compassion. He looked at me, and his gaze was not condemning, but inviting. The pain in his body seemed less important than the love flowing from his heart, an infinite wellspring of mercy and forgiveness. In that moment, I realized that the path I had followed, seeking enlightenment through detachment, was only part of the truth. This man on the cross embodied a love that embraced suffering rather than escaping it, transforming it into a source of healing for others. Questions flooded my mind. Who was he? Why was he here? What did his suffering mean? As I grappled with these questions, a voice, gentle yet commanding, spoke directly to my heart. I am Jesus, the Christ. I suffered and died so that all may be reconciled to God. Through my love, even the deepest pain can be redeemed. His words resonated with a truth I could not deny. I felt drawn closer, compelled to understand this love that was so different from anything I had known. Though my teachings had prepared me for many spiritual mysteries, this was new and unsettling. But beneath the uncertainty, a seed of hope began to take root. Hope that even I, a humble monk, could encounter a love so vast and transformative. As the radiant figure of Jesus on the cross held my gaze, the space around me seemed to dissolve, and I was transported into a realm beyond time and understanding. Here, the boundaries of doctrine and tradition melted away, and I was faced with a profound reality that transcended all my previous teachings. Jesus began to walk toward me, each step radiating love and mercy. I felt no fear, only a deep humility and yearning to know more. He spoke softly. Tenzin, your path has sought peace through the mind, but I offer peace through the heart. Come, walk with me. Despite the years I had devoted to meditation and spiritual discipline, I realized there was a vast ocean of love I had never touched. This love was not confined to detachment or the absence of desire. It was alive, active, and transformative. As we walked together, he revealed scenes of human suffering, not as distant tales, but as personal stories of pain, betrayal, and longing. He showed me how his sacrifice on the cross was a bridge connecting heaven and earth, love and pain, God and humanity. I struggled to reconcile this with my beliefs. How could a divine love be so intimate, so personal, so willing to suffer for others? The concept of God bearing human suffering was foreign to me, yet undeniably powerful. Jesus said, "True compassion is not passive. It enters into suffering, redeems it, and offers new life. Your meditation seeks liberation. My love offers salvation." This was not just philosophy. It was an invitation, a call to a deeper understanding of compassion that includes sacrifice and redemption. I felt my heart opening, the walls of skepticism crumbling. Though uncertain, I yearned to embrace this love, to see if it could indeed heal the emptiness I had never fully understood. Jesus smiled. "Your journey has brought you here for a reason. Will you trust me?" With trembling, I nodded, stepping into a new path illuminated by the light of a love I had never known. As I walked alongside Jesus, the scene shifted. I saw him again on the cross, but this time I witnessed the immense weight. He bore not only the physical torment, but the burden of humanity's sins, fears, and brokenness. Each nail, each lash, each moment of agony was not merely suffering, but a profound act of mercy. I had studied compassion as a concept in my monastic life, but this was something beyond compassion. It was unconditional, sacrificial love that bore the consequences of others' pain as if it were his own. It was a love that did not recoil from suffering but embraced it to redeem it. Jesus looked at me with eyes full of sorrow and hope. "Tenzin, the path to true peace is through the cross, through embracing the wounds of the world, not avoiding them. My suffering is the bridge to reconcile all souls to the Father." I was overwhelmed by the depth of this love that did not demand perfection, but met brokenness with forgiveness. It challenged my understanding of enlightenment. Could true liberation come not from detachment alone, but from entering into love so deeply that even suffering becomes transformative? I remembered my own struggles, the isolation, the striving, the moments when peace seemed so distant. Now I saw that this love offered healing not by erasing pain, but by giving it meaning and hope. Jesus extended his hand to me and said, "Will you carry this love within you, to heal and serve others as I have done?" Tears filled my eyes. I felt the call to a love that was both gentle and fierce, love that would require courage to live and share. I whispered, "Yes, Lord, teach me how." In that moment, I felt a lightness in my spirit, a healing of old wounds, and the beginning of a transformation that would reshape my entire being. As I stood before Jesus, bathed in a light that seemed to penetrate the very depths of my soul, he invited me to lay bare the wounds I had carried for so long. The wounds of pride, of doubt, of fear, those invisible scars that had shaped much of my life. He told me that healing comes not from escaping pain, but from embracing it with open arms, allowing divine love to pour into the broken places. In his presence, I began to see how many of my fierce fear of rejection, of inadequacy, of not knowing had held me captive in a cycle of endless striving. One by one, memories surfaced. The loneliness of early years in the monastery, the moments when doubt crept in during long nights of meditation, the silent battles I fought within myself. I confessed these wounds aloud, not to a human, but to the living God who bore all pain on the cross. Jesus listened with infinite compassion, his gaze soft yet piercing. Your wounds are not signs of failure, but invitations to deeper grace. Let me heal you, so you may be a conduit of my mercy. Then, as if his hands could reach into my very being, I felt a warmth flood my chest. The burdens of shame and fear began to dissolve. I felt lighter, freer than I had ever been. The healing was not instantaneous, but it was profound, a rebirth of the spirit. He taught me that true compassion arises from one who has first been healed, that only those who have known the depths of mercy can truly offer it to others. In this sacred exchange, I understood that my path was not just personal liberation, but a call to bring healing love to a hurting world. Jesus whispered, "Go now, Tenzin. Live this love. Be the light in darkness." I bowed deeply, filled with humility and a new sense of purpose. The journey ahead was daunting, but radiant with hope. The presence of Jesus continued to envelop me in warmth and light as he shared with me the true essence of love, not as a distant ideal, but as a living reality that transcends all human limitations. He spoke of love as an active, sacrificial force that moves beyond personal comfort, cultural barriers, and even religious differences. Love, Tenzin, he said, is not confined by human constructs. It is the very heartbeat of creation, the force that sustains all life. To love truly is to participate in my divine nature. I reflected on my own life, and teaching show often had compassion been limited by doctrine? How often had I separated myself from those I deemed other or different? Jesus' words challenged me to widen my heart beyond the boundaries I had set. He revealed to me the power of love that embraces enemies, forgives the unforgivable, and sacrifices for those who cannot repay. It was a love that reached to the lowest valleys of despair and lifted souls into the light. Jesus looked deeply into my eyes and asked, "Will you carry this love into the world, even when it demands courage, humility, and sacrifice?" I felt the weight of his question, but also an overwhelming desire to respond with a wholehearted yes. The love he offered was not easy, but it was the only love worthy of a transformed life. In that sacred moment, I understood that true enlightenment was not only a detachment from suffering, but a profound participation in the love that redeems suffering itself. With renewed strength, I pledged to live this love actively, boldly, and with compassion for all beings. After what felt like an eternity in the presence of divine love and mercy, Jesus gently told me it was time to return to the life I had left behind. As I prepared to re-enter my earthly body, I felt a bittersweet mix of hope and apprehension. The world I knew, filled with noise, distraction, and suffering, now seemed both familiar and foreign. Returning was not simply a matter of opening my eyes. It was a profound reawakening of body, mind, and spirit. I was no longer the same monk who had slipped into meditation that morning. I was transformed, carrying within me the light of the love I had seen, and the burden of the truth I now understood. Jesus looked at me one last time and said, "Tenzin, your path is to be a bridge between worlds to live my love in a way that heals, unites, and inspires. Your experience is a gift, but it is also a responsibility. Walk humbly and boldly." As I awoke in my physical body, surrounded by the familiar walls of my monastic cell, I felt a deep yearning to share what I had learned. Yet I also feared rejection and misunderstanding. How could I reconcile my Buddhist practice with the revelation of this man on a cross? Would my brothers and sisters accept this new truth? Despite these fears, I knew the love I had encountered was real and transformative. It was a love that transcended religion, culture, and all human barriers. It was a call to serve others with humility and compassion, to live a life marked by self-giving and mercy. I began to see my meditation and spiritual disciplines in a new light, not as ends in themselves, but as tools to cultivate the love and compassion that Jesus showed me. The path ahead was uncertain, challenging, and beautiful. I was no longer just a seeker of peace. I was a messenger of a love that conquers death and restores life. Back in my earthly body, the world felt sharper, more vivid, yet also softened by the profound transformation within me. Every breath, every moment, was now infused with the light of the love. I had encountered love that had pierced through suffering and death itself. I knew that my journey was no longer just about personal enlightenment or detachment, but about becoming a living testimony of this love, a love that breaks barriers, heals wounds, and unites all people beyond their differences. In the days that followed, I struggled with the complexity of my new reality. How could I integrate this revelation into the life I had known? The teachings I had lived by seemed incomplete now. The man on the cross had shown me a love that was radical in its humility, fierce in its mercy, and infinite in its reach. I reached out to my monastic community, sharing my experience with humility and openness. Some met me with skepticism, others with curiosity. But I realized that my task was not to convince, but to embody, to live this love authentically and let it speak for itself. I began to blend my meditation with prayer and reflection on the teachings of Jesus, discovering a harmony that deepened my compassion and commitment to serve. My heart opened wider to the poor, the marginalized, the brokenhearted, and I found joy in acts of kindness, forgiveness, and reconciliation. This love was not a burden but a liberation, a call to see all beings as beloved children of God, worthy of dignity and grace. It transformed my fears into courage, my isolation into community, and my doubts into faith. I now understand that true enlightenment is not an escape from the world, but a radical engagement with it, rooted in the divine love that Jesus embodied and invited me to share. If you hear my story, know this: no matter your path, no matter your beliefs, the love that conquered death is real, accessible, and transformative. It meets us where we are and invites us into a life of peace, purpose, and profound joy. May this love guide you, heal you, and set you free.